So we are another part of Work Package 5, also dealing with the social media and the arts in different ways. We have the longest title for our presentation today, which is quite not so smart, given that this is a speak talk. We are going to talk about positioning ourselves towards and against the environment, visual and networked explorations in social media and the arts. And when I say we, that's me, that's also Malte, Sophie and Charlotte, who have been working on this together in different ways. Sophie is not here today, but it will be me and Malte doing the presenting today. I'll start, Malte takes over somewhere in the middle. So what are our starting points? Our starting points for our work in this area are that people make meaning of nature together, and also that visual and in this meaning making, visual culture and art takes part in various different ways. It does that in analog space and also in networked digital space. And in these kinds of, in this sense, communication is always networked. And we've been looking at leveraging this networking in different ways in trying to understand what it means, what it can mean in terms of meaning creations, and also how it can be used to create meaning beyond that. We are currently working intensely on research on nature selfies in and off the internet, particularly Swedish and to a certain degree peripherally also Norwegian nature selfies. Where we investigate how these nature selfies connect remote natural with digital life worlds. If you see up in the corner, that's me doing a nature selfie with my family while we were skiing in the countrysides this last winter, trying to sort of take a picture of ourselves in this sort of idealized, unspoiled version of Swedish mountains. But what kind of natures, human nature imaginations are actually invited and afforded through these nature services? And how do the digital material, how are the tools like Instagram and so on implicated in what we can do and how we can see nature? For instance, what we are very interested in is to sort of study and make sense of what is made visible and what is made invisible. If you look at the picture up there in the corner of myself and my kids, what you can see is this sort of unspoiled me trying to show off unspoiled Swedish nature to my dad. But what you can't see is actually that in front of me there are other people standing there, of course, doing skiing, and this being a skiing track, we are not actually in total wilderness. This is a track, so we are standing on a little wooden bridge. Otherwise, we wouldn't be able to make this sort of photo of this small waterway here. So this is, but I try deliberately to make this invisible because this is part of the way in which this, social media attention economy also works. It's a very commercialized space, that nature is commercialized and commodified in certain specific ways and shared. But where does this leave wilderness, nature, and the outdoors? And what kind of actions might this sort of engagement that is very constricted by the affordances of these tools enable and disable? So these are kind of the things we've been dealing with, and we are dealing with, we continue to deal with, and selfies are really like an extremely valuable tool to approach this issue, because it sort of ties together the human nature relations with the very commercial and commodified attention economy that is propelled on social media and on related platforms. We have also had a second part, which Malte is going to talk about.
Yes, so the other bit of our project, still a bit of preparation, and Sophie and Charlie will be able to speak a lot more about this. But from autumn until next summer, we're planning to run a series of conversations with artists where we sort of trying to work together on questions about how arts and environmental communication relate to each other, how they can contribute to each other. And we would like people to bring their own ideas, bring their own artworks or other people's artworks in as a space for conversation and to explore questions like exactly how arts and environmental communication relate, how arts can contribute or can make sense of environmental crises, etc. So this is still work in planning and progress. And what we'd like to show you is briefly our preliminary understanding of these nature selfies. I mean, we have 3 cases, which you can read more about at some point. We think they mark someone's presence in the outer space, like you'd see on Jutta's selfie, sort of, I was here, I was somewhere outdoors, I was skiing, I was there with my kids. So it's very much a testification, a quantification of the experience. And we think that nature sort of becomes domesticated and commodified, as Jutta said, within the attention economy. But what we really notice is that the ugly, the dissatisfying, or the otherwise negative is missing. And it's always this kind of perfect idea of outdoor spaces, this what we described on the previous slide as nature porn, which is a word that exists out there. That's always what you'll find in selfies, and that's mixed together with this idea of the perfect self that you find on these selfies on Instagram, etc. And the question really is, and that's what we're trying to explore now with the data we have, and with some, you would call that action research, what I did there, just looking at what does it mean to capture the ugly, to capture the dissatisfying, to capture some sort of destruction and devastation in these selfies, and what facial expressions should I make with this? Those are the questions we're currently dealing with. And we're looking forward to deal with them for another while longer. Thank you.